Listen to me very carefully, for what I am about to share with you will mark the dividing line between the life you have been living and the life you are destined to live. For 25 years, I studied the minds of more than 500 of America's most successful men, searching for the common thread that bound them all together. I discovered something so profound, so simple, yet so powerful that it has remained hidden from the masses, who struggle daily with poverty, failure, and despair. These men, Carnegie, Ford, Edison, Rockefeller, all possessed a secret morning ritual that set their minds in motion toward success before their feet even touched the floor. You wake each morning, don't you, with the same thoughts of worry, the same fears about money, the same doubts about your abilities? You rise from your bed already defeated, your mind poisoned with the limitations of yesterday. This is the poverty of mind that afflicts 98% of all people, and it is the very reason they remain chained to lives of quiet desperation. But today, right now, as you listen to my words, that chain is about to be broken forever. What would you say if I told you that the first 5 minutes after you open your eyes each morning determine whether you will succeed or fail that day? What would you think if I revealed that every great fortune, every remarkable achievement, every breakthrough in human progress began not in an office or a factory, but in the quiet moments of dawn, when a determined mind spoke certain words with absolute faith and conviction? The human mind is a transmitting and receiving station. When you speak words with deep emotion and faith, you send a command directly to your subconscious mind, which is connected to infinite intelligence. This is not mere theory. This is scientific fact, proven through decades of careful observation. Your subconscious mind does not question or doubt. It simply accepts what you tell it with feeling and begins immediately to manifest it in your physical world. Andrew Carnegie understood this principle. Each morning, before the sun painted the sky, he would stand before his window and speak his intentions for the day with such power that his very presence commanded respect from all who met him. Thomas Edison knew this secret. In the quiet of his laboratory, before beginning his work, he would affirm his connection to the infinite source of all knowledge. Rockefeller, Ford, Schwab, they all began their days not with the newspaper or idle chatter, but with deliberate, purposeful words that programmed their minds for victory. For too long, you have been the victim of your own mental laziness. You have allowed your mind to run wild like an untamed horse, carrying you wherever fear and doubt wish to take you. But the 11 phrases I am about to give you are like a bridle and bit for that wild horse. They will give you mastery over your own mind, and through that mastery, control over your entire life. These are not merely positive thoughts or empty affirmations. These 11 phrases contain the concentrated essence of success philosophy, distilled from the actual practices of men who built empires from nothing, who transformed entire industries, who left their mark on history. Each phrase is a key that unlocks a different door in your subconscious mind. Together, they form a master key that opens the vault of unlimited achievement. The transformation that awaits you requires only 2 things. First, that you speak these phrases every single morning without fail, and second, that you speak them with absolute faith and burning emotion. The words without the feeling are dead. But when you combine these words with the fire of belief, you set in motion forces that will reshape your entire existence. Prepare yourself, for you are about to learn the morning ritual that separates the masters of life from its victims. I am the master of my fate. Let these 6 words burn themselves into your consciousness, for they contain the power to lift you from the depths of despair to the heights of achievement. I once knew a man who had lost everything: his business, his savings, his confidence. He sat in my office with tears in his eyes, convinced that external forces had conspired to destroy him. I gave him only these 6 words and told him to repeat them every morning with the force of his entire being. 6 months later, he returned to thank me, for he had not only recovered his losses, but had built a fortune twice as large as before. You see, most people believe they are leaves blown about by the wind of circumstance. They blame the government, the economy, their education, their family, everything and everyone except the one person who holds all the power, themselves. But I tell you now, based on my study of the most successful minds in history, that you are not the victim of fate, you are its author. Every circumstance in your life today is the direct result of the thoughts you held in your mind yesterday. When William Ernest Henley wrote, "I am the master of my fate, I am the captain of my soul," he was not penning pretty poetry. He was stating a law as immutable as the law of gravity. Your thoughts create your circumstances. Your dominant mental attitude determines whether you attract success or failure, wealth or poverty, happiness or misery. This is not wishful thinking. This is the operation of universal law that works with mathematical precision. Consider Charles M. Schwab. He began as a day laborer in Andrew Carnegie's steel mills, earning $1 a day. But Schwab understood that he was the master of his fate. Each morning before reporting to work, he would stand before his modest mirror and declare with unshakable conviction that he would one day run those very mills. He did not hope, he did not wish, he commanded his subconscious mind to accept this as reality. The result? He became president of the United States Steel Corporation and earned a salary of over $1 million a year, at a time when such a sum was almost unimaginable. Henry Ford faced ridicule and mockery when he announced his intention to build a motor car for the masses. Learned men explained in detail why it was impossible. Financial experts proved with figures that he would bankrupt himself. But Ford knew a secret they did not. He was the master of his fate. Each morning he renewed his mental declaration of sovereignty over circumstances. When setbacks came, and they came by the dozens, he reminded himself that fate was not something that happened to him, but something he created with each thought, each decision, each action. Your subconscious mind is like fertile soil. It will grow whatever seeds you plant in it. When you declare, "I am the master of my fate," you plant seeds of personal power, self-determination, and unlimited possibility. But this must be done with feeling. Stand before your mirror each morning, look yourself directly in the eyes, and speak these words as if your very life depended on them, because it does. Feel the power surge through you. Feel the chains of victimhood falling away. Feel yourself taking command of your own destiny. The law of attraction operates through the subconscious mind. When you truly believe you are the master of your fate, your subconscious mind begins to attract the people, circumstances, and opportunities that align with this belief. You stop repelling success with thoughts of limitation and begin magnetically drawing it to you with thoughts of power and possibility. This is not mysticism. This is the practical application of mental law that has been proven in the laboratories of life by every person who has ever risen from obscurity to greatness. My definite chief aim guides my every action. These 8 words constitute the starting point of all achievement. Without a definite chief aim, you are like a ship without a rudder, drifting wherever the currents of life choose to take you. But with a definite purpose fixed firmly in your mind, you become like a guided missile, moving with unstoppable force toward your target. I spent years in poverty and frustration before Andrew Carnegie revealed to me the supreme importance of definiteness of purpose. He told me that 98 out of every 100 people fail in life because they never decide exactly what they want. They have wishes, hopes, and dreams, but no definite chief aim. They scatter their energies in a dozen different directions and wonder why they never seem to get anywhere. Edwin C. Barnes was a nobody from nowhere when he decided his definite chief aim was to become the business partner of Thomas Edison. He had no money, no connections, no special talents. But he had something far more valuable, a burning desire backed by definiteness of purpose. Each morning, before the world awoke, Barnes would stand in his shabby room and declare his intention to work with Edison. He did not say he hoped to work for Edison. He declared he would be Edison's partner. When Barnes finally made his way to Edison's office, he arrived looking like a tramp. But Edison, who could read men's minds through their eyes, saw something different. He saw the fire of definite purpose burning so brightly that it could not be extinguished. Years later, after Barnes had become wealthy as Edison's partner in the dictating machine business, Edison said, "I gave him the opportunity he sought because I saw he had made up his mind to stand by until he succeeded." Your definite chief aim is not a wish or a hope. It is a command to your subconscious mind. When you state it each morning with absolute conviction, you activate forces within yourself that begin immediately to transform that aim into physical reality. John D. Rockefeller knew at age 23 that his definite chief aim was to become the world's greatest oil refiner. He spoke it, he breathed it, he lived it. Every decision, every action was guided by this central purpose. The result was Standard Oil and a fortune that staggered the imagination. The principle of concentration of effort demands that you focus all your energies on your definite chief aim. Scattered thinking leads to scattered results. But concentrated thinking, guided by a definite purpose, produces concentrated power. Your subconscious mind works 24 hours a day to manifest what you have clearly defined and emotionally charged. It never sleeps, never rests, never stops working on your behalf, but only if you give it a clear target. Each morning, as you speak this phrase, see your definite chief aim as already accomplished. Feel the joy of achievement. Experience the satisfaction of success. Your subconscious mind cannot tell the difference between a vividly imagined experience and reality. When you consistently visualize your goal as achieved while declaring your definite purpose, you create a mental pattern that your subconscious mind must follow. This is the secret of all great achievement. Knowing exactly what you want and maintaining that vision with unwavering faith until it materializes in your life. I possess within me all the power I need. Stop for a moment and consider the profound truth of these words. You have been taught to believe in limitation, to accept that you need something outside yourself to succeed. But I tell you now, based on irrefutable evidence, that you already possess within your own mind all the power necessary to achieve anything you can conceive and believe. Thomas Edison had only 3 months of formal schooling. By every external measure, he should have remained an unknown failure. But Edison understood a secret that his educated critics did not. He possessed within himself access to infinite intelligence. When faced with a problem, he would retire to his private room, sit in complete darkness and silence, and affirm his connection to the source of all knowledge. In this state, ideas would flash into his mind, solutions would appear, inventions would reveal themselves. More than 1,000 patents stand as monuments to his faith in the power within. The average person uses less than 10% of their mental capacity. Think about that. You are operating at 1/10 of your potential, and yet you wonder why success eludes you. But the power is there, waiting to be accessed, waiting to be commanded, waiting to be released. George Washington Carver demonstrated this truth in a manner that cannot be disputed. Born into slavery, without formal education, he became one of the greatest scientists of his age. When asked how he discovered over 300 uses for the peanut, he replied simply, "I went into my laboratory and said, 'Dear Creator, please tell me what the peanut is for.' Then I waited for the answer." Your subconscious mind is connected directly to infinite intelligence, the source of all knowledge, all power, all solutions. But doubt acts as a barrier, blocking this connection. When you affirm each morning that you possess within you all the power you need, you remove this barrier. You open the channel through which unlimited wisdom and ability can flow. This is not theory, this is demonstrated fact, proven by every great achiever in history. Self-doubt is the great crippler of human potential. You have been programmed since childhood to believe in your limitations rather than your possibilities. You have been told what you cannot do so often that you have forgotten what you can do. But Carnegie was right when he said that no man is limited except by his own thoughts. The walls that seem to imprison you are made of nothing more substantial than your own beliefs. When you change those beliefs, the walls disappear. Each morning, as you speak this affirmation, feel the surge of unlimited power flowing through you. You are not separate from the creative force of the universe. You are an expression of it. The same power that moves the planets, that causes the seed to become the tree, that transforms the caterpillar into the butterfly, flows through your mind. Your only task is to recognize it, accept it, and direct it toward your definite chief aim. When you do this with faith and persistence, miracles become commonplace, the impossible becomes inevitable, and you discover that you have always possessed the power to transform your life. Today I will go the extra mile in all I do. This principle has created more millionaires than any other single factor. It is so simple that most people overlook it, so powerful that those who apply it cannot fail. Yet the majority of people do only what they are paid to do, only what is required, only what they must. And then they wonder why opportunity passes them by. Charles M. Schwab was once asked by Andrew Carnegie to manage a steel mill that was losing money. The other managers had failed to turn it around despite their best efforts. Schwab took the job with one condition: that he be allowed to manage it his way. His way was the principle of going the extra mile. He worked not 8 hours, but 12, not because he was paid for the extra time, but because he was determined to render more service than required. He insisted that every employee under him adopt the same principle. Within 1 year, that failing mill became the most profitable in the entire Carnegie system. Schwab's reward? A bonus of $1 million for a single year's work, in an era when $1,000 was a fortune. The law of increasing returns governs all of nature and all of human activity. When you give more than is expected, you receive back more than you gave. This is not sentiment. This is mathematical law. The farmer who tends his crops with extra care receives an extra abundant harvest. The merchant who provides extra service builds a loyal customer base. The employee who does more than required inevitably rises to positions of greater responsibility and reward. Most people approach their work with the attitude of, how little can I do and still get by? They watch the clock, resent extra assignments, and complain about their pay. These are the people who remain at the bottom all their lives, bitter and resentful, never understanding that they are the authors of their own poverty. They violate the basic law of success and then blame everyone but themselves for their failure. Going the extra mile is not about working yourself to exhaustion. It is about bringing quality, enthusiasm, and excellence to everything you do. It is about looking for ways to increase your service, improve your skill, and add value wherever you are. When you adopt this principle, you stand out from the mediocre masses like a beacon in the darkness. Opportunities seek you out. Promotion becomes inevitable. Success becomes not a matter of if, but when. Andrew Carnegie built his entire fortune on this principle. He promoted only those who demonstrated the habit of going the extra mile. He paid them not for what they did, but for their willingness to do more than they were paid for. Every person in his organization who rose to wealth and prominence did so by rendering extra service. This was not favoritism. This was the recognition of an immutable law of success. Each morning, when you declare your intention to go the extra mile, you program your mind to look for opportunities to exceed expectations. Your subconscious mind begins to generate ideas for improving your service. You develop the reputation of being someone who can be counted on to deliver more than promised. This reputation becomes your most valuable asset, worth more than money in the bank, because it guarantees that you will never lack for opportunities to prosper. I attract wealth through service to others. Here is a truth that destroys forever the false belief that success comes through taking advantage of others. Every great fortune, without exception, has been built on a foundation of service. The size of your reward in life will always be in direct proportion to the amount and quality of service you render to others. Henry Ford became one of the richest men in the world, not by exploiting others, but by serving them. His obsession was not with profit, but with providing affordable transportation to the masses. He revolutionized production methods not to increase his wealth, but to decrease the cost of automobiles so more people could afford them. The fortune that flowed to him was the natural result of the service he rendered to millions. He often said, "A business that makes nothing but money is a poor business." Money is nothing more than a symbol of service rendered. It flows to those who provide value to others and away from those who seek only to take. This is the law of compensation in action, and it operates as reliably as the law of gravity. You cannot violate it without suffering the consequences. Every person who has tried to gain wealth without providing equivalent service has ultimately failed, while every person who has focused on service has ultimately prospered. Consider Frank W. Woolworth. He built his fortune on the simple idea of serving people who had only nickels and dimes to spend. While other merchants ignored these customers as unprofitable, Woolworth saw an opportunity to serve. He created stores where people of modest means could shop with dignity and find quality goods at prices they could afford. His 5 and 10 cent stores served millions and made him one of the wealthiest men in America. J.P. Morgan accumulated his vast fortune not through manipulation, but through organization. He saw that American industry needed capital and structure to grow. He organized railroads, steel companies, and banks in ways that served both investors and the public. His wealth was the natural compensation for the valuable service he provided in building the industrial foundation of America. When you affirm each morning that you attract wealth through service to others, you align yourself with this universal law. Your subconscious mind begins to attract opportunities to serve. You develop what I call a service consciousness, an awareness of how you can add value in every situation. This consciousness is magnetic. It draws people to you, opens doors that were previously closed, and creates possibilities where none existed before. The selfish person repels wealth because they violate the fundamental law of exchange. They try to get without giving, to reap without sowing, to withdraw without first making deposits. But the person with a service consciousness attracts wealth because they understand that giving precedes receiving, that sowing precedes reaping, that deposits must be made before withdrawals. This is not just good business. This is the fundamental operating principle of the universe. When you work with this principle instead of against it, success becomes not only possible, but inevitable. I transform every failure into a stepping stone. Listen carefully, for this principle will free you forever from the fear of failure that paralyzes most people. Every adversity, every failure, every heartache carries with it the seed of an equal or greater benefit. This is not mere consolation. This is proven fact, demonstrated by every person who has achieved lasting success. Abraham Lincoln failed in business at age 21. He was defeated for the legislature at 22. He failed again in business at 24. His sweetheart died when he was 26. He had a nervous breakdown at 27. He was defeated for Speaker at 29, defeated for Elector at 31, defeated for Congress at 34, defeated for Senate at 46, defeated for Vice President at 47, and defeated for Senate again at 49. At age 52, he became President of the United States and saved the Union. Every failure had been preparing him, strengthening him, teaching him the lessons he would need for his ultimate destiny. Thomas Edison's teachers said he was too stupid to learn anything. He was fired from his first 2 jobs for being unproductive. When he was inventing the light bulb, he failed over 10,000 times. A reporter asked him how it felt to fail so many times. Edison replied, "I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." Each failure brought him closer to success because he understood that failure is nothing more than a stepping stone to achievement. R.U. Darby learned this lesson in the most dramatic way possible. He and his uncle discovered gold during the gold rush and invested everything they had in mining equipment. After extracting enough ore to pay for the machinery, the vein of gold disappeared. They drilled desperately but found nothing. Finally, they quit and sold the machinery to a junk dealer for a few $100s. The junk dealer hired a mining engineer who calculated that the vein would be found just 3 feet from where the Darbys had stopped drilling. The junk dealer extracted millions of dollars in gold from that mine. But Darby learned from this failure. He went into insurance sales and used the lesson of persistence to become one of the most successful insurance salesmen in America. Most people accept failure as final. They quit at the first sign of defeat. They interpret temporary setback as permanent disaster. But I tell you now, there is no such thing as permanent failure except for the person who accepts it as such. Every failure is temporary. Every defeat is educational. Every setback is a setup for a comeback, but only for those who refuse to quit. Your subconscious mind has the miraculous ability to transform any experience into an asset. When you affirm each morning that you transform every failure into a stepping stone, you program your mind to look for the lesson, the opportunity, the hidden benefit in every setback. You develop what I call failure immunity, the ability to bounce back quickly from any defeat and use it as fuel for your next success. Nature requires opposition to create strength. The tree that stands against the wind develops the deepest roots. The muscle that works against resistance grows the strongest. The person who overcomes the most failures develops the greatest capacity for success. When you understand this principle and apply it consistently, you stop fearing failure and start welcoming it as a teacher, a strengthener, a necessary step on the path to achievement. You realize that success is not the absence of failure, but the transformation of failure into wisdom, strength, and determination. I am building my success with patience and persistence. In this age of instant gratification, this principle has been all but forgotten. Yet it remains as true today as it was in the beginning. All enduring success is built gradually, methodically, persistently over time. There are no shortcuts, no magic formulas, no overnight transformations. Success is a building process, and like all building, it requires patience and persistence. James J. Hill spent 20 years building his railroad empire. For 2 decades, he laid track through wilderness, overcame countless obstacles, faced financial ruin repeatedly, and endured the mockery of those who called his project Hill's Folly. But Hill understood that great achievements require time to mature. He persisted when others would have quit, remained patient when others would have rushed, and continued building when others would have abandoned the project. The Great Northern Railway became one of the most successful transportation systems in America, and Hill became one of the wealthiest men of his era. The principle of compound returns applies not only to money, but to personal development. Each day that you persist in your efforts, you add to your foundation. Each small improvement builds upon the last. Each lesson learned makes the next one easier. This compounding effect is invisible at first, which is why most people quit before they see results. But those who persist eventually reach the tipping point where all their accumulated efforts suddenly produce dramatic results. Marshall Field understood this principle. When the Great Chicago Fire destroyed his store, he faced a choice: quit or rebuild. Lesser men might have accepted defeat, but Field saw the fire not as an ending, but as an opportunity to build something better. He rebuilt with patience and persistence, creating not just a store, but a retail empire that bore his name for over a century. He often said, "The secret of success is to do common things uncommonly well." And this requires patience to master the details and persistence to maintain high standards. Impatience is the great destroyer of potential success. It causes people to abandon their efforts just before the breakthrough comes. It leads to poor decisions, rushed actions, and inevitable failure. The impatient person is like the farmer who plants seeds and then digs them up every day to see if they're growing. The patient person understands that there is a season for planting and a season for harvesting, and that one cannot be rushed into the other. Persistence is the quality that makes all other qualities effective. Without it, talent is wasted, education is meaningless, and opportunity is squandered. But with it, even ordinary ability can achieve extraordinary results. Calvin Coolidge was right when he said, "Nothing in the world can take the place of persistence." Talent will not. Nothing is more common than unsuccessful men with talent. Genius will not. Unrewarded genius is almost a proverb. Education will not. The world is full of educated derelicts. Persistence and determination alone are omnipotent. Each morning, when you affirm that you are building your success with patience and persistence, you program your mind for the long game. You immunize yourself against the disease of instant gratification. You align yourself with the natural laws of growth and development. You join the ranks of those who understand that success is not a sprint, but a marathon, not a single event, but a process, not a destination, but a journey that requires patience for the distance and persistence to keep moving forward regardless of obstacles. My mind is closed to all negative influences. Your mind is like a garden that will grow whatever seeds are planted in it. If you allow others to plant seeds of doubt, fear, and limitation, that is what will grow. But when you close your mind to negative influences and plant only seeds of faith, confidence, and possibility, you create a mental garden of success. The world is full of people who will tell you what you cannot do. They failed, so they believe you must fail. They quit, so they expect you to quit. They accepted limitation, so they try to impose limitation on you. Guglielmo Marconi faced this when he announced his idea for wireless communication. His friends were so convinced he had lost his mind that they tried to have him committed to an asylum. But Marconi had closed his mind to their negative influences. He persisted in his experiments, and today the entire world communicates wirelessly. Henry Ford faced a constant barrage of negative influences when he decided to build his automobile. Engineers proved it was impossible. Financial experts demonstrated he would go bankrupt. Even his father tried to discourage him, but Ford had developed the mental discipline to shut out all voices except the one inside him that said, "It can be done." He refused to let the doubts and fears of others poison his mind. The result was not just the Model T, but an entire industry that transformed the world. Negative thoughts are contagious. They spread from mind to mind like a disease. When you associate with negative people, when you listen to their complaints and criticisms, when you allow their fears to enter your consciousness, you become infected. Your own positive thoughts are overwhelmed, your faith is weakened, and your dreams begin to die. This is why you must guard your mental gates as carefully as you would guard your home against intruders. The technique of mental substitution is your defense against negative influences. You cannot simply resist negative thoughts. You must replace them with positive ones. When someone tells you it cannot be done, immediately recall examples of those who did it. When doubt tries to enter your mind, crowd it out with faith. When fear knocks at your door, answer with courage. This is not denial. This is the deliberate choice to focus on what empowers rather than what weakens. Your subconscious mind accepts whatever thoughts you allow to dominate your consciousness. It does not evaluate whether these thoughts are true or false, helpful or harmful. It simply accepts and acts upon them. This is why you must be ruthlessly selective about what you allow into your mind. You must become a guardian at the gate, examining every thought, every influence, every suggestion, and allowing entry only to those that support your definite chief aim. Each morning when you declare that your mind is closed to all negative influences, you activate your mental immune system. You create a protective barrier around your consciousness. You join the ranks of those who understand that we become what we think about, and therefore we must think only about what we wish to become. This is not optional for success. It is absolutely essential. The person who allows negative influences to dominate their thinking is defeated before they begin. I give thanks for this day and its opportunities. Gratitude is not merely a pleasant emotion. It is a magnetic force that attracts more of what you appreciate. This is a law of mind as reliable as any law of physics. What you focus on with emotion expands. When you focus on lack, you get more lack. When you focus on abundance, you get more abundance. Gratitude is the master key that shifts your focus from what is missing to what is present. John D. Rockefeller began each day with thanksgiving, even when he was a struggling bookkeeper earning less than $1 a day. He gave thanks for his health, for his job, for his opportunities to learn and grow. This attitude of gratitude attracted to him the people and circumstances that helped him build Standard Oil. He often said that he owed his success not to his financial genius, but to his habit of appreciating what he had while working for more. The principle of appreciation works in all areas of life. What you appreciate appreciates. When you give thanks for your current blessings, however small, you create a mental atmosphere that attracts greater blessings. This is not wishful thinking. This is the practical application of mental law. Your subconscious mind is programmed to notice and attract more of whatever you focus on with emotion. Gratitude provides that emotion in its most powerful and positive form. Consider the alternative. Those who complain attract more to complain about. Those who criticize find more to criticize. Those who focus on problems discover more problems. They create a downward spiral of negativity that becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. They prove themselves right about how difficult life is by creating more difficulty through their mental attitude. Andrew Carnegie understood this principle deeply. Despite his humble beginnings as a bobbin boy in a cotton factory, he maintained an attitude of gratitude that attracted helpful people throughout his life. He gave thanks for every person who taught him something, every opportunity to advance, every lesson learned from failure. This gratitude created a positive mental atmosphere that drew to him the men who would help him build his steel empire. When you speak this affirmation each morning with genuine feeling, you activate one of the most powerful forces in the universe. Your subconscious mind begins to scan your environment for opportunities you might otherwise miss. You develop what I call opportunity consciousness, the ability to recognize and capitalize on the possibilities that surround you every day. These opportunities were always there, but gratitude opens your eyes to see them. The ungrateful person lives in a prison of their own making. They are surrounded by blessings they cannot see, opportunities they cannot recognize, abundance they cannot access. But the grateful person lives in an ever-expanding universe of possibility. Each thing they appreciate leads to something else to appreciate. Each opportunity recognized leads to greater opportunities. Each blessing acknowledged attracts more blessings. This is the upward spiral of success, and it begins with the simple but powerful act of giving thanks. I act with decision and courage today. Indecision and procrastination have murdered more opportunities than all other causes combined. While you hesitate, life passes by. While you deliberate, others take action. While you wait for perfect conditions, those who act with imperfect conditions claim the prizes you desire. Successful people have one characteristic that distinguishes them from failures. They make decisions quickly and change them slowly. Napoleon Bonaparte attributed his military genius to one thing. I make decisions 2 hours before my generals think they need to be made. This gave him the advantage of initiative. While his enemies were still deliberating, he was already executing. While they were reacting to his last move, he was making his next one. The universe rewards action and punishes hesitation. This is a law as immutable as gravity. When you act, even imperfectly, you set forces in motion. You create momentum. You generate feedback that allows you to adjust your course. But when you hesitate, you create nothing but stagnation. You generate only regret. You attract nothing but missed opportunities. Hernan Cortez understood this principle when he landed in Mexico with 600 men to conquer an empire of millions. His first act was to burn his ships. This left his men with only two choices: victory or death. There was no possibility of retreat, no option for second thoughts, no room for hesitation. This decisive act transformed ordinary men into conquerors. They had to succeed because failure was no longer an option. Fear is the parent of indecision. You hesitate because you fear making the wrong choice. But here is the truth that will set you free. There are no wrong choices, only lessons. Every decision, even those that lead to temporary setback, provides valuable experience. The only truly wrong choice is no choice at all. The person who makes a decision and acts upon it, even if it proves incorrect, is infinitely better off than the person who makes no decision and remains stuck in place. Theodore Roosevelt built his entire life on the principle of decisive action. His motto was, "Do what you can with what you have, where you are." He didn't wait for perfect conditions. He didn't hesitate until all risk was removed. He acted with the resources available, learned from the results, and adjusted his approach. This decisiveness carried him from a sickly child to President of the United States. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is action in the presence of fear. Every person who has achieved anything worthwhile has felt fear. The difference is that successful people feel the fear and act anyway. They understand that courage is like a muscle that grows stronger with use. Each time you act despite fear, you build your courage for the next challenge. Each decisive action makes the next one easier. When you affirm each morning that you act with decision and courage, you program your mind for action rather than hesitation. You prime yourself to recognize opportunities and seize them before they disappear. You join the ranks of the doers rather than the talkers, the actors rather than the reactors, the decisive rather than the doubtful. You align yourself with the force of initiative that moves the world forward and rewards those who dare to lead rather than follow. I am becoming the person I was meant to be. This final affirmation encompasses all the others, for success is not merely about achieving external goals, but about fulfilling your highest potential. Every person born into this world has unique gifts, talents, and capacities that are meant to be developed and expressed. Your life's true purpose is to become the fullest expression of who you are capable of being. Booker T. Washington was born into slavery, but he refused to let his circumstances define his destiny. He understood that within him lay the potential for greatness, regardless of external conditions. Each day, he worked not just on external achievements, but on developing himself. He educated himself, refined his character, and expanded his capabilities. He became one of the most influential educators and leaders of his time, not because circumstances favored him, but because he was committed to becoming who he was meant to be. The principle of growth is fundamental to all life. You are either growing or dying. There is no standing still. When you stop developing, stop learning, stop improving, you begin to deteriorate. But when you commit to continuous growth, you align yourself with the creative force of the universe. You become an ever-expanding expression of human potential. Benjamin Franklin understood this principle better than perhaps any American. He created a system of 13 virtues and worked on developing one each week. He examined himself daily, noting where he had fallen short and resolving to do better. This commitment to continuous self-improvement transformed him from a printer's apprentice into one of the most accomplished men in history: inventor, diplomat, philosopher, scientist, and founding father. Small daily improvements compound into dramatic transformation. You don't become the person you're meant to be through a single dramatic act, but through thousands of small acts of self-development. Each book you read, each skill you develop, each weakness you overcome, each strength you build contributes to your evolution. The person you are today is the result of all your yesterdays. The person you will be tomorrow is being created by what you do today. This phrase aligns your conscious and subconscious minds toward continuous evolution. When you declare each morning that you are becoming the person you were meant to be, you activate what I call the law of becoming. Your subconscious mind begins to reveal opportunities for growth. You attract teachers, books, experiences that help you develop. You find yourself making choices that support your evolution rather than your stagnation. Most people settle for far less than they are capable of becoming. They allow their environment to determine their development. They accept the limitations others place upon them. They stop growing when they leave school, stop learning when they get a job, stop evolving when they achieve a modest comfort. They die at 30 and are buried at 70, having spent 40 years as walking corpses of who they could have been. But you were not meant for mediocrity. Within you lies genius waiting to be awakened, greatness waiting to be expressed, potential waiting to be realized. The same life force that creates all miracles in nature flows through you. Your only task is to cooperate with this force, to remove the barriers of doubt and fear and limitation that prevent its full expression through you. When you speak this affirmation with deep feeling, you make a sacred commitment to your own evolution. You declare that you will not settle, will not stop, will not accept less than your highest potential. You join the ranks of those who understand that life is a journey of becoming, and that the joy is not in reaching some final destination, but in the continuous unfolding of your capabilities. You align yourself with the creative intention that brought you into existence, and you promise to honor that intention by becoming all that you were meant to be. Now, let me share with you the sacred ritual that will transform these 11 phrases from mere words into living forces in your life. This is not a casual practice to be done half-heartedly while you rush through your morning. This is a deliberate act of mental programming that requires your full presence and participation. Rise each morning at least 30 minutes before you must begin your daily activities. This time is not negotiable. If you are not willing to invest 30 minutes in your own transformation, then you are not serious about success. The men who built great fortunes and achieved lasting success all understood that the first hour of the day belongs to mental preparation. They would no more begin their day without this preparation than a warrior would enter battle without his weapons. Find a private place where you will not be disturbed. This is crucial. The subconscious mind requires concentration to receive new programming. Interruptions break the connection and weaken the effect. Lock the door if necessary. Inform your family that this time is sacred. Guard it as you would guard your most precious possession, for indeed it is. Stand before a mirror and look directly into your own eyes. This is important. The eyes are the windows of the soul, and when you speak to yourself while maintaining eye contact, you create a powerful circuit of communication between your conscious and subconscious minds. Many people find this uncomfortable at first because they have never truly looked at themselves. Persist through any discomfort. This direct communication with yourself is essential for transformation. Speak each phrase aloud with all the emotion and conviction you can summon. The words without feeling are dead. Your subconscious mind responds not to the words themselves, but to the emotional vibration behind them. When you say, "I am the master of my fate," feel the power of that truth surging through you. When you declare, "My definite chief aim guides my every action," see your goal as already achieved and feel the joy of accomplishment. This emotional intensity is what drives the words deep into your subconscious mind, where they can take root and grow. Repeat each phrase 3 times before moving to the next. The first time, speak it to establish the thought. The second time, speak it with increased emotion to deepen the impression. The third time, speak it with absolute conviction as an established fact in your life. This repetition with increasing intensity creates the neural pathways that transform thought into habit, habit into character, and character into destiny. After speaking all 11 phrases, remain quiet for 5 minutes. This is the period of impression when your subconscious mind absorbs and begins to process what you have declared. Do not think of problems or plans during this time. Simply remain in a state of quiet expectancy, knowing that the seeds you have planted are already beginning to germinate in the fertile soil of your subconscious mind. The transformation will not happen overnight. Your subconscious mind has been programmed by years of negative conditioning, and it requires at least 30 days of consistent practice to establish new patterns. Miss a single day during these first 30 days, and you must begin again. This is not punishment, but simple recognition of how the mind works. Consistency is essential for creating new neural pathways. After 30 days, the practice will begin to feel natural. After 60 days, you will notice changes in your thinking and behavior. After 90 days, others will begin to comment on the transformation they see in you. After 6 months of faithful practice, you will be a different person, not in your essential nature, but in your expression of that nature. You will have become someone who naturally thinks and acts in alignment with success. Many men have written to tell me of the miraculous changes this morning ritual has brought to their lives. A salesman who could barely earn enough to feed his family became the top producer in his company. A laborer who had accepted his station in life developed an invention that made him wealthy. A timid clerk transformed into a confident executive. These were not miracles in the supernatural sense, but the natural result of aligning the mind with the laws of success. Do not make the mistake of thinking this is too simple to be effective. The greatest truths are always simple. The problem is not in understanding them, but in applying them. Knowledge without application is worthless. The world is full of educated failures who know what to do, but don't do what they know. Don't be one of them. Begin tomorrow morning. Set your alarm 30 minutes earlier. Prepare your private space tonight. Write out the 11 phrases if necessary until you have them memorized. Your entire life has been leading you to this moment of decision. Will you continue as you have been, hoping that somehow things will change? Or will you take command of your own mind and create the change you desire? The choice is yours, but understand this. If you do not take control of your mental programming, others will program you for their purposes. If you do not design your own life plan, you will fall into someone else's plan, and guess what they have planned for you? Not much. I close with this final thought. You now possess the morning ritual that has transformed ordinary men into extraordinary achievers. You have the same 24 hours each day that Carnegie had, that Ford had, that Edison had. The only difference between you and them is how you use the first 30 minutes after you awaken. They use this time to program their minds for success. Will you? The chains that have bound you to mediocrity are already beginning to weaken. Tomorrow morning you will speak the words that will break them forever. Tonight, as you prepare for sleep, know that you are about to embark on the greatest adventure of your life, the journey from who you are to who you were meant to be. The universe is waiting to respond to your new commands. Your subconscious mind is ready to receive new programming. Your future success is calling to you from tomorrow's dawn. Rise early, speak boldly, believe completely, act decisively, persist relentlessly. This is the way of those who transform their lives from failure to success, from poverty to riches, from nobody to somebody. You now know the secret. The only question that remains is, will you use it? The decision you make in the next 24 hours will determine the direction of the rest of your life. Choose wisely. Choose courageously. Choose success. Begin tomorrow morning with the 11 phrases that will change your life forever. I have given you the keys to the kingdom of achievement. Now it is up to you to use them. Make no mistake. If you woke this morning without giving your mind clear orders about money, you've already signed the contract for poverty. Every dollar you've lost, every opportunity that's passed you by, every moment of financial pain you've endured was not chance. It was your mind obeying the command you unknowingly gave it. I am not here to comfort you. I am not here to flatter your mediocrity or to help you feel good about poverty. I am here to hand you the exact blueprint to command wealth every morning before the world has a chance to make you its slave again. Every millionaire I've known, Carnegie, Ford, Edison, Rockefeller, used this formula, and every poor man I've known ignored it. Today you have the choice. Listen closely, learn the secret ritual, and master your money, or refuse and remain a slave to someone who will. This speech will offend the weak. It will disturb the passive. It will outrage the comfortable. Good. Comfort never built an empire. Outrage is the beginning of true wealth. If you're brave enough, if you're ready to reclaim your financial power, keep listening. But I warn you, once you hear this, you can never again blame the world for your poverty. Your wealth, or lack of it, will be entirely on your shoulders. The first thought that enters your mind in the morning is not a small thing. It is the commander of the entire day. For your mind, when stirred from rest, is most open to instruction. In that sacred first hour, you either rise as a master of riches, or you kneel again to poverty and fear. If the thought is vague, the day will be wasteful. If the thought is weak, the day will submit to stronger men. But if the thought is definite, clear, and charged with a purpose toward wealth, then even before you dress or speak or walk, your riches have begun to form in the unseen. Understand this clearly. Thought is the forerunner of all wealth. Before gold appears in the hand, it appears in the mind. Before opportunity knocks at your door, it arises first in the palace of your imagination. Before the banker respects your name, your soul must respect its own worth. Therefore, what you think in the morning is not opinion, it is prophecy. A man who permits fear, frustration, or fatigue to enter the gates of his mind at dawn is already behind. Before he takes a single step, he has told his subconscious, "We are poor, weak, and uncertain." And that mind, obedient like a loyal but thoughtless servant, will carry out that command. But you are not such a man. You are a builder of thought, a governor of wealth, a commander of inner order. The first act upon waking must be the spoken repetition of your definite chief aim, especially as it relates to the riches you demand of life, not in casual mumbling, not in tired whisper, but in bold, clear tone, as if you were addressing the infinite. Stand, speak, and say aloud, "I am a magnet for rightful riches. I call them by name. They obey me because I think clearly, speak boldly, and act decisively." Speak these words not because they reflect your current condition, but because they create your future reality. The subconscious mind responds not to what is seen, but to what is repeated with belief. You must think wealth before you are wealthy. You must walk in riches before you possess them. You must live in abundance before the world grants it to you. And this all begins in the morning hour, when the world is still silent and your soul is nearest to its own potential. Do not think that money responds to effort alone. It does not. Millions labor tirelessly and remain poor. Money does not serve the man who only moves. It serves the man who commands. Effort without direction is like a ship with no compass. But a mind filled with purpose, issuing clear command, becomes a harbor toward which wealth naturally flows. Recall Henry Ford. Long before he produced a single automobile, he held the entire blueprint in his mind. He meditated not upon obstacles, but upon completion. He awakened each day with a picture of success already finished. It was built in thought before it was built in iron. If you think wealth, you will walk differently. Your tone will carry weight. Your decisions will cut through confusion. Others will feel something they cannot name, the vibration of a man who knows where he is going. Let no thought of limitation enter your mind in the first hour. Let no self-pity, no anxiety, no cluttered plans spoil the day's field. You are planting seeds, and if those seeds are sown with fear, the harvest will wither before noon. Instead, declare aloud, "I am the steward of all riches yet to come. I am worthy, I am able, and I am in motion. My thoughts are aligned with the law of increase." Every day you awaken and repeat this practice, your subconscious adjusts its compass. Every time you speak your definite chief aim before the sun rises, your life shifts 1 degree closer to wealth. Beware the lazy morning. It is not merely unproductive, it is dangerous. If you begin the day in drift, that drift becomes the habit. And no man who drifts ever commands money. The drifter fears bills. The man of purpose commands wealth. This is not fantasy. It is law. It is how men rise, how empires are built, how ordinary voices become legends. And it all begins with the first thought of the morning. Let others awaken to noise, to gossip, to worry. You awaken to power. Let others rise late and stumble through distraction. You rise early and walk with intention. Let others check the news or count their worries. You speak wealth into existence. And when they ask why you advance while they remain stuck, you will know. It began not with money, but with a morning thought shaped by decision. Repeat now with boldness and conviction. Today, I think only of increase. I sow only seeds of gold. I walk as one already entrusted with riches. I begin my fortune in the first breath of the morning. This is the law. This is your path. This is the first discipline. And if you obey it, wealth must respond, for thought is the root of all riches, and your first thought each day shall now be wealth. Riches do not come to the man who begs. They do not appear for the man who hopes. They obey the man who commands. And command is not a noise. It is a ritual, a system, a pattern of belief enforced through daily practice, morning after morning, until the invisible becomes visible and the unseen becomes inevitable. Every morning must begin with your wealth command ritual. Not on some mornings, not when you feel like it, but every morning, as a man attends to his duties, for wealth is your duty, and it will never surpass the standard you issue with your voice and mind before the day begins. Begin before the world begins. Rise before the noise has a chance to enter. This is your sacred hour. No interruptions, no distractions, no delays. The wealthy man is not rich in coin alone. He is rich in discipline. Your first step is to speak your definite chief aim. Loudly, clearly, with posture, with pace, with breath. It is not enough to have a goal written. It must be spoken aloud. In the same way, one would speak to a great army before battle. Then declare the sum you desire. Do not speak in vague language. Be specific. Be definite. If you desire $50,000 in 12 months, say so. If you demand $200,000 by the end of the quarter, name the figure, speak it into law, then state what you will give in return. Nothing for nothing is the law of failure. All riches are earned by rendered service. Say aloud what value you shall bring, what problem you solve, what work you shall perform, what idea you are refining. Declare your offering to the marketplace. Next, name the time and method. By the first day of January, I shall have earned amount through the rendering of service or product. The universe responds not to vague intentions, but to declared timelines and methods. Now seal the ritual with conviction. Say this: I demand riches in definite terms. I have decided the price. I have set the time. My mind obeys. My world responds. This is your daily contract, a spiritual agreement written not in ink, but in tone, not in paper, but in the subconscious. This ritual, done faithfully, reshapes the man who speaks it. And when the man changes, the money follows. Why do you think Charles M. Schwab became the highest paid steel executive in the world without formal education? Because he began each day with a command. He did not ask the day for permission. He gave it purpose. He did not approach money as a stranger. He spoke to it like a general commands his battalion. He practiced self-command in the morning before he ever spoke to Carnegie or a boardroom. He refined his inner ritual long before the million-dollar speech that made him legend. Now I warn you, do not perform this ritual as a lifeless routine. Do not let it become dry. Emotion is the soul of command. You must feel the truth of your declaration. You must speak it with faith. Belief must be seen in your eyes, felt in your chest, and heard in your breath. For if you repeat these words without belief, the subconscious mind will ignore them. But if you speak them with certainty, with the voice of a man who has already seen the fortune in his mind's eye, then the world must begin to move. Let me say plainly, your tone matters. You must speak as a man possessed by purpose. Speak not as one who is trying to believe, but as one who cannot be denied. Say this aloud now. I do not beg, I do not doubt, I do not wander. I speak riches into motion. I act with direction. I think in gold. This is your law, your order, your authority. No employer grants you wealth. No market grants you riches. You grant them to yourself by establishing inner order through this daily ritual. Each morning you command, your belief deepens. Each morning you declare, your focus sharpens. Each morning you name your aim, your inner world rearranges itself to make it real. Do not skip this. Do not delay this. Do not say tomorrow. Wealth responds to the man who speaks now. The world belongs to the man who rises before others rise and decides his worth before the day begins. If you practice this ritual for 90 days, you will not recognize your income or your inner voice. Say this again. I speak my fortune into form. I tell my world who I am, what I want, and when I shall have it. I demand it now, and I pay the price in service. This is the wealth command ritual. It is not a trick. It is not chance. It is the spoken law of cause and effect. Riches come to the man who has first built the consciousness to receive them. You are building that consciousness each morning, one sentence at a time, one repetition at a time, one act of belief at a time. And the man who commands every day without fail will soon live in the results that most men call miracles, but which he knows are only the rewards of disciplined thought. Money, like thought, must be directed. It is not wise. It is not loyal. It flows where it is guided or where it is lost. The man who would grow wealthy must treat each dollar as a seed, and no seed may be sown carelessly if he expects to reap a harvest of gold. Each morning before you step into the market of men, you must answer this. Where shall my money go today? What shall it build? What shall it earn? What shall it multiply? The man who does not assign purpose to his money is no better than a farmer who tosses his grain into the wind and waits for fortune to arrange his field. He will starve in confusion and call it fate. But the man of purpose designs the season of his abundance. Write down each morning how your actions shall increase your income, not in theory but in decision, not someday but today. Speak aloud what you shall do with your money, and what your money shall do for you. Say this, I command my money, I give it orders, I guide it to multiply, and it obeys me because I am definite. Even the poorest man, if he commands a single dollar with wisdom, has begun the habit of wealth. Even one coin properly spent, properly invested, or properly directed is evidence of a mind that no longer drifts in financial darkness. Riches do not answer to amount, they answer to attention. If you cannot control $1, you will not command 1 million. The drifting spender is a man already defeated. He awakens with vague plans, moves by impulse, buys by feeling, and repents by night. He serves the coin. He does not master it. And each day he remains in this fog. His subconscious mind is programmed to believe that money is fleeting, chaotic, and unsafe. Contrast him with the man who governs his gold. He rises with clarity. He knows what must be paid, what must be saved, what must be multiplied, and what must be given. He gives every coin a duty, and the coin rewards him with order. John D. Rockefeller, who became the richest man in the world, began not by chasing money, but by mastering its direction. He recorded every transaction. He calculated each flow of income. He declared aloud each morning the purpose of his fortune, even before it was his. He was a financial general before he was a financier. That is the lesson. Do not wait until you have riches to practice control. Practice control now, and the riches will come to meet your preparation. Each morning, write down what you shall earn. Decide what value you shall produce. Then determine how much shall be saved, how much shall be invested, and how much shall be used for living, not based on desire, but based on design. Say it aloud. I am the steward of all that flows through me. I waste nothing. I direct all. I build wealth with the hands of order and the mind of decision. No man builds a fortune by chance. All wealth is arranged by law. Your morning decisions are the blueprint of your financial destiny. You must decide to be rich before you are rich. You must behave with control before you possess the treasure. You must command your thoughts, your time, your money, or you shall be ruled by them. The man who governs his financial day before the world begins to move is the man who bends the world toward his fortune. Now commit to this practice. Each morning, in the same breath as your chief aim and wealth ritual, write down, how much shall I earn today? What must I do to cause this earning? Where shall each dollar go once it arrives? Do not leave a coin without a task. Do not spend a penny without intention. Let your money become soldiers, marching in line, building a fortress, expanding your empire. Repeat this as law. Money serves me because I lead it. I command it with clarity. I do not chase it. It follows my plan. And remember, even the richest men of history began this way. They were not born with vaults of gold. They were born with minds, as you were, and they trained those minds to treat money not as a mystery, but as a material shaped by law, focus, and command. Start now, before another coin slips into waste, before another hour passes in drift. Begin your financial leadership every morning, and money will become your obedient servant, not your elusive master. A man may carry the right thought, the right aim, and the right action, but if he lives in an environment of disorder, poverty of surroundings will eventually seep into poverty of mind. Your morning setting, the room, the air, the clothes, the desk, the objects you greet, either supports or destroys your belief in wealth. You cannot build a fortune in a space that whispers lack. The law of cosmic habit force governs this truth. Whatever surrounds you presses upon your subconscious. Repeated exposure becomes belief. Belief becomes identity. Identity becomes habit. Habit becomes wealth or misery. Therefore, every morning you must walk into a room that reflects your inner command. You must rise and enter a space that looks, smells, and feels like prosperity, not opulence, not luxury, but order, strength, vision. The wealthy man keeps his surroundings clean because they mirror the order of his thoughts. He removes clutter because clutter is stagnation. He places symbols of power on his walls because symbols speak to the subconscious in the language of belief. Say this aloud. I live in the tone of wealth. My environment reflects the riches I demand. I dress, speak, and move as a commander of fortune. Look around. What in your room affirms your financial rise? What calls your belief higher? And what drags it backward into the mud of yesterday's mediocrity? Remove all signs of weakness. Eliminate the broken, the unused, the neglected. Burn what no longer matches your purpose. Do not tolerate disorder, for every object that remains is a silent teacher, and your mind is always in class. Andrew Carnegie, before his name was known, insisted on wearing clean collars, pressed garments, and walking with the manner of a man already entrusted with riches. He would not permit himself to inhabit places of mental decay. He understood that the outer world must conform to the inner image, or it would distort it. You must review your vision each morning, not only in speech, but in scene. Place your written chief aim where your eye will see it upon waking. Pin your financial targets where your gaze will rest while dressing. Let every wall, every shelf, every corner affirm the message, I am a man of wealth. This is not fantasy. It is programming, a poster of your future office, a figure of gold on the bookshelf, a photograph of Ford or Edison or Rockefeller, a mirror clean enough to reflect the posture of confidence. These are not decorations. They are environmental commands to your subconscious. Say aloud, every object in my presence is either a partner in my wealth or a thief of my belief. I choose what remains. I arrange for victory. Do not let others mock your environment of purpose. Do not let the cynical tell you it is theatrical. The world is shaped by men who prepare their stage long before the curtain lifts. Even the scent of the air matters, the color of your notebook, the sound of your waking room. Every repeated exposure becomes a part of your character. Do not leave this to chance. As you dress each morning, ask, does this suit reflect the man I am becoming or the man I once was? Do not wear poverty, even if your purse is light. Wear intention, wear clarity, wear rise. This morning environment must also be free of noise. Do not begin your day with gossip, with news of ruin, with idle talk of other men's errors. Let your first hour be sacred and sovereign. Let only 3 voices speak in your room at dawn. Your chief aim, your affirmations, your declaration of what today shall earn and build. Say this as law. I surround myself with evidence of my purpose. I allow only thoughts, images, and words that multiply my wealth. Remember, a man may believe, but if he returns each day to disorder, disrepair, and defeat in his surroundings, that belief will be eroded by what his eyes absorb. The subconscious does not argue, it obeys. And if it sees poverty, it assumes it is truth. But if it sees discipline, cleanliness, strength, power, it believes wealth is natural and acts accordingly. Do not let your environment contradict your purpose. A man of wealth has a room of readiness, a desk of direction, a mirror of mastery, a floor clear of confusion, a wall that preaches belief. And when the world visits his office, they do not wonder who he is. They feel it before a word is spoken. Begin this tomorrow. No delay. Before another thought is spoken, before another coin is earned, reshape the space where you declare your wealth, for it shall either be your temple or your cage. This is the 4th pillar. This is the unspoken partner in your morning wealth ritual. Your words are not idle. Your sentences are not mere sound. They are instructions, laws issued to the subconscious, which then governs every cell of your body and every reaction of your world. If you speak of wealth, you are programming fortune. If you speak of poverty, you are commanding failure. This is law. Therefore, each morning you must guard your mouth with discipline and intent. You must speak only of wealth, progress, increase, and success. You must not, even in jest, utter a word that betrays your purpose. For the mind knows no difference between joke and truth. It obeys only repetition and tone. Let me make this plain. If the first words of your day are complaint, sarcasm, or defeat, you have already poisoned your mind's soil. No matter how powerful your chief aim, your lips can cancel its power. The subconscious listens more to tone than to logic. Declare this aloud. I speak wealth into existence. I do not discuss poverty. I do not rehearse failure. My words create my gold. Every sentence is either a seed of growth or a stone upon your own path. There is no neutral speech. There is no harmless negativity. All speech is creation or destruction. Choose wisely. Let this become your law. No negative talk before noon. From the moment you rise until midday, not a single complaint shall pass your lips. Not about the weather, the bills, the world, or yourself. Why? Because the subconscious is most open in the early hours, and your tongue is its teacher. Let your morning conversations be only of what you are building, earning, solving, creating. Speak of deals you are closing, clients you are helping, wealth you are constructing, not what others have failed to do. The man who discusses another man's failure is preparing for his own. He does not know it. He thinks he is clever. But the subconscious takes note and begins to believe that failure is normal, inevitable, and near. Thomas Edison, even in the face of thousands of so-called failures, never permitted his team to speak of failure as final. He would correct them. This is not failure, he said. We have simply discovered what will not work. And thus his mind and theirs remained fertile. Words are spells. Say the same thought enough times, and you shall begin to move and breathe in agreement with it. Even your bank account shall listen. If you say, I'm always broke, you are creating chains. If you say money comes easily and rightly to me, you are crafting wings. Make this your morning vow. I shall not speak lack. I shall not utter limitation. I shall not rehearse weakness. My voice is the trumpet of prosperity. Do not allow others into your space who speak against your wealth. If they mock, let them go. If they jest, dismiss them. Their voices are anchors. Your ship was not built for their harbor. Instruct those closest to you. We do not speak as paupers in this house. We speak as men of purpose. We speak as builders. We speak as commanders. Train them in your law, and their voices shall begin to strengthen your own. And if you must walk alone, walk with strength. Speak aloud your affirmations until they echo louder than the opinions of lesser men. Remember this, what you say in the morning, you believe by noon, and what you believe by noon, you live by evening. Your tongue is the chisel, your life is the sculpture. Say again now with force, my words are wealth. I do not speak weakness. I do not prophesy lack. My voice builds what I have chosen to receive. This is not theory. This is the method by which empires are built. Every king first called himself king. Every captain first declared his course. Every wealthy man first spoke of riches even when his pocket was bare. Speak as the man you are becoming, not the man you were handed. Let your lips declare what your eyes do not yet see. This is faith. This is power. This is law. Your morning voice must carry certainty. It must ring with command. It must leave no room for doubt shall find its home in the empty spaces between your sentences. If you stumble, begin again. If a weak word escapes, replace it with strength. If you hear another utter defeat, silently replace it in your mind. Do not permit falsehood to enter your mental garden. You are the gatekeeper of your fortune. Your voice is the key. Speak now. Speak always. Speak only in the direction of wealth. You are not shaped by what you know once. You are shaped by what you review, what you repeat, what you rehearse. Repetition is the soul of belief, the hammer that forges identity, and the rhythm by which riches are formed. He who repeats truth becomes it. He who forgets truth drifts. Each morning must not only begin with declaration, but with repetition of the eternal principles that govern wealth. You cannot build prosperity without reviewing its blueprint. A man cannot retain what he does not revisit. I command you to read aloud every morning your written definite chief aim. The 6 steps for riches as laid forth in my doctrine. A brief review of the service you render in exchange for the wealth you demand. A story of a man who rose by definite purpose. Carnegie, Ford, Edison, Rockefeller. Say aloud, I begin my day in truth. I rehearse the laws of wealth. I train my mind with the language of riches. This is not for comfort. This is for construction. Each sentence, when repeated, lays another brick. Each principle, when recited, sharpens the mind. Each example, when remembered, engraves possibility into your soul. Repetition teaches faster than experience. Experience punishes. Repetition instructs. One man learns by loss. Another man learns by review. Choose the latter. Let your reading not be mechanical. Let it be alive. Read with your full voice. Let your body feel the message. Let your spine rise. Let your eyes burn with clarity. This is not poetry. This is programming. One young man I once trained increased his income 5-fold in 90 days. Not by changing his trade, but by reading his definite chief aim and wealth statements aloud each morning without fail. His tone changed. His belief deepened. His decision sharpened. The world responded. Your mind is not stubborn, it is obedient. It listens to what is repeated. If it hears truth daily, it believes it. If it hears chaos daily, it mimics it. Do not let your belief depend on circumstances. Let it depend on rhythm. Repeat these now. I believe in riches because I repeat the laws of riches. I rehearse my fortune aloud. I engrave wealth into my being. This is the law of autosuggestion. Your subconscious is your most loyal servant. It does not think for itself. It absorbs. And what it absorbs most often, it obeys. If you wish to multiply your income, multiply the repetition of the principles that cause income to grow. One cannot speak of gold once and expect mountains. He must chant it, command it, live it. Have a list. Keep it beside your bed. Upon rising, open your mouth before you open your door. Before the day begins to instruct you, you must instruct yourself. Read these aloud. I am the man who earns a mount. I render service with excellence. I receive riches in increasing measure. My thoughts, tone, and actions reflect a man of wealth. Let the body memorize this rhythm. Let the breath of your mornings be filled with gold. Let no day begin with silence. Silence is where doubt lives, but repetition is the sword that cuts doubt in half. Say aloud now. Every day I repeat my destiny. Every day I teach my mind wealth. Every day I move toward gold because I have engraved it into my soul. Do not tire of repetition. The man who tires of it shall remain in lack. The man who honors it shall soon walk in riches. Repetition builds rhythm. Rhythm builds habit. Habit builds belief. Belief builds behavior. Behavior builds income. There is no greater tool for transformation than daily review of wealth truths. He who repeats them becomes them. He who recites them walks in them, and he who walks in them shall soon be followed by the sound of coins. Wealth is not merely a condition of the purse, it is a condition of posture. You cannot wait for gold to straighten your spine. You must walk as if your fortune were already earned. Before you possess the riches, you must possess the bearing of the man who commands them. Each morning, the first steps you take must carry the energy of dominion. Let your walk declare your chief aim. Let your shoulders speak of order. Let your eyes tell the world that you are not here to wonder, but to decide. Posture is belief made flesh. The man who slumps, who drags, who hesitates, tells his subconscious that he is uncertain. The world agrees. Opportunities slip away. Voices speak over his own. Doors remain shut. But the man who walks in rhythm with purpose is obeyed, even before he speaks. Declare this now. I carry wealth in my posture. I move with dignity. I reflect the fortune I am building in every gesture. Every motion is instruction. Every pace is programming. The subconscious mind watches the way you move and says, "This is the man we are becoming." Therefore, move like one who already reigns. Upon rising, dress not for comfort, but for command. Even if no man shall see you that day, your mind will. Even if you work in solitude, the mirror will reflect your belief. Put on your best not for others, but for your becoming self. Abraham Lincoln, long before the nation knew him as president, walked with calm, deliberate dignity. He spoke few words, but the tone of his gait, the gravity in his movements, made others lean forward when he entered. That was not by birth, that was by decision. Say this aloud. I dress, walk, and breathe as the man I have declared myself to be. My body follows my aim. My world follows my energy. Poverty begins in the body before it touches the bank. Weakness shows itself in the slump of a shoulder, the pace of a shuffle, the tone of a sigh. But so does wealth, seen in the raised chin, the steady stride, the silence that does not need to beg for attention. When you walk into a room, let no one wonder what kind of man has entered. Let them feel your direction, your rhythm, your intensity, though you speak not a word. That is wealth energy. That is the unseen signal that causes men to listen and doors to open. You do not wait until you have riches to act like a man of wealth. You act like a man of wealth so that riches must appear to match you. This is the secret behind every self-made man. He lived into his fortune before the gold arrived. Even if your pockets are empty, your presence must be full. Even if your purse is light, your tone must be heavy with belief. Even if your task today is small, your manner must be vast. You are not rehearsing for wealth. You are commanding it with every breath. Now repeat, I rise like a man of fortune. I walk like one who cannot be denied. I move through the world with purpose, and the world answers. Let this become your morning test. Does your posture command attention? Do your eyes speak of focus? Do your movements speak of royalty or of rebellion against success? Adjust nothing in the world until you have adjusted your frame. Let no task begin until you walk like it already succeeded. Let no conversation begin until your body has already announced that it is not here to drift, but to decide. The great builders of wealth all moved with a pattern. They did not fidget, they did not panic, they did not sway between moods. They walked with rhythm. They breathed with control. They carried the world, not with volume, but with gravity. You must now become such a man, and you begin by choosing to carry wealth in your energy. Say again boldly, I walk as if I own the day. I breathe as one already in possession of his goal. I carry in my being the weight of a man chosen for riches. Let the poor of spirit laugh. Let the small of mind call it performance. You know the law. Thought controls the body, and the body shapes belief. Act as if, and you become. Each step you take after rising must be a step into fortune, not just by labor, but by tone, by carriage, by choice. This is how wealth is magnetized, not with desperate chase, not with frantic grasping, but with poise, with certainty, with the manner of a man who knows that what he seeks is already seeking him. Every fortune begins with a decision, not with labor, not with luck, but with the inward decree, this day I shall prosper. A man who rises without decision has already lost. For indecision is drift. Drift is weakness. Weakness is poverty. But decision is riches in seed form. Each morning you must sit silent, deliberate, and declare your intent for the day. This is not a wish. It is a sentence spoken in stone. What shall you earn? What shall you accomplish? What shall you plant toward future wealth? You do not begin your day until these are known. Say aloud, I decide to prosper today. I move forward in belief. I act with power. I receive with gratitude. This is not superstition. This is spiritual arithmetic. Clarity creates energy. Energy becomes action. Action becomes results. But it begins with decision. A drifting man does not prosper because he has told his world, take me anywhere. And the world, being indifferent, obliges. Decision is the mother of direction. Without it, you shall be pulled into the plans of other men, most of whom do not know where they are going. Decide now. Today I act. Today I earn. Today I advance. Do not delay the decision until breakfast. Do not wait until others speak. Before you dress, before you read, before you walk, decide. The mind that decides early builds with clarity all day. The mind that delays becomes a battlefield of options. Declare in detail, I will write and send this proposal. I will complete this service to the highest degree. I will earn amount through the value I deliver. I will save amount, invest amount, and use amount with wisdom. Speak it, write it, own it. Henry Ford did not build his empire by accident. He decided to create a car that every man could afford, and he made that decision before he had the means, before he had the machinery, before the world believed it could be done, but he decided, and the world obeyed. When I began my assignment from Andrew Carnegie, no agreement was signed. No funds were guaranteed. But I made the decision to write the philosophy of success, and I acted as if it were already complete. The decision came before the reward. That is always the case. Let this be your morning vow. I do not wait, I do not hesitate, I do not guess, I decide, and the universe aligns. For even infinite intelligence cannot support an undecided man. Decision is the signal that you are ready. Without it, opportunity walks past you and into the hands of the one who had the courage to commit. A man cannot be divided and wealthy. He cannot serve both doubt and desire. The first hour of your day must prove to your own mind that you are no longer confused. You are no longer seeking direction. You are creating direction. And the man who creates direction is obeyed by money, by men, by conditions, by circumstance, not at once, not by miracle, but by law. So speak it. Today, I am the cause. I act with boldness. I claim what is mine. I multiply because I have chosen to move. Then move. Begin immediately. Do not read further. Do not drift or analyze. Once the decision is made, act upon it within minutes, or risk it being lost in the fog of lesser voices. Do this every morning, without fail, even when tired, even when discouraged, especially then, for decision in fatigue is strength. Decision in darkness is leadership, and wealth follows the man who decides regardless of weather. No vagueness ever multiplied a dollar. No hesitation ever attracted gold. The man who speaks, believes, and moves owns the room, the day, and his fortune. Rise tomorrow with this final charge in your heart. I command my wealth in the morning. I speak, decide, and act before the world begins. My fortune follows my decision. My results reflect my will. I move early. I move first. I move with faith. That is why I multiply. This is the 8th principle. This is the crown of the morning wealth ritual. You must no longer drift through the dawn. You must dominate it, and the man who does this without exception shall soon find his name whispered among the fortunate. He will not be surprised. He will smile, for he knows. He decided it long ago. Most people believe money moves toward effort, intelligence, or luck. That belief alone keeps them poor, because money does not respond to motion, noise, or desperation. It responds to signals, and the tragedy is this. Most people are broadcasting the wrong signal every day without knowing it. You can feel this contradiction in your own life. You work harder, think longer, plan more carefully, yet money remains distant. Bills arrive faster than opportunity. Effort increases, but reward does not. When this happens repeatedly, confusion begins to replace confidence. That confusion quietly changes how you think. You stop expecting money and start hoping for it. Hope weakens posture. It softens decision. And money, like opportunity, avoids weakness instinctively. It does not chase need. It responds to certainty. Here is the uncomfortable truth. Money is never repelled by lack of effort. It is repelled by the signal behind the effort. The inner tone you carry speaks louder than your actions. And most people unknowingly broadcast hesitation, fear, and apology. You may recognize this pattern. You say you want wealth, but your thoughts question it. You act, but with internal doubt. You plan, but prepare excuses in case it fails. That mixed signal confuses the subconscious, and confusion produces resistance. Money moves toward alignment. When thought, belief, and action agree, the signal strengthens. When they conflict, the signal collapses. And no amount of hard work can overcome a collapsed signal, no matter how sincere the effort appears. This is why people who should succeed often struggle. They do the right things externally while broadcasting uncertainty internally. They speak of goals while expecting disappointment. And expectation is the strongest instruction the subconscious ever receives. You have felt this before. Moments when opportunity almost arrived, then vanished. Deals that seemed close, then dissolved. Momentum that built briefly, then disappeared. These are not coincidences. They are responses to a signal that weakened at the wrong moment. Most people never examine this. They blame the market, timing, education, or connections. But money does not respond to excuses. It responds to clarity. And clarity cannot exist where self-doubt is quietly tolerated. The signal money responds to is not arrogance. It is not noise. It is quiet certainty. The kind that does not beg, chase, or explain. The kind that assumes arrival before evidence appears. That posture changes how decisions are made. When the signal is wrong, effort becomes frantic. Action feels strained. You push instead of attract. And pushing always reveals need. Money retreats from need, the same way confidence retreats from fear. This is why some people seem to attract wealth effortlessly. They are not lucky. They are aligned. Their expectations are firm. Their decisions are decisive. Their inner dialogue never asks permission to succeed. Most people accidentally repel money by rehearsing loss. They think about what could go wrong more than what must go right. They speak cautiously. They act defensively. The subconscious absorbs this and instructs behavior accordingly. Your subconscious does not understand words. It understands repetition and emotional tone. If your inner language is uncertain, money receives uncertainty. If your inner posture is apologetic, money responds by staying away. This is not punishment, it is law. The same law that governs opportunity, influence, and leadership. Whatever signal dominates your thinking becomes instruction. Whatever instruction repeats becomes outcome. You were never meant to chase money. Chasing implies lack, and lack is the strongest repellent there is. You were meant to signal alignment so clearly that money recognizes authority rather than need. This is where most people become uncomfortable because correcting the signal requires responsibility. It demands discipline of thought, speech, and expectation. It removes the comfort of excuses and replaces it with command. Once the signal changes, effort feels different. Action becomes calmer. Decisions sharpen. You stop negotiating with doubt. And the world responds not because you asked louder, but because you finally spoke clearly. This is why money has avoided you until now. Not because you were undeserving, but because your signal was inconsistent. You wanted wealth while preparing for disappointment. You acted while expecting delay. The moment alignment begins, resistance weakens. Opportunities appear naturally. Conversations shift. Timing improves. To outsiders, it looks like luck. To the man who understands signal, it feels like correction. Most people will hear this and do nothing. They will nod, agree, and return to the same inner language. Money will continue to avoid them. Laws do not respond to awareness. They respond to obedience. If you listen carefully now, you will recognize the signal you have been broadcasting. And once recognized, it cannot be ignored. From this point forward, the responsibility is yours. You are not repelling money by chance. You are repelling it by signal. And the moment that signal changes, everything else begins to follow. Listen closely to what comes next. The unseen frequency of wealth. There is an order beneath every fortune ever built, and that order begins within the mind. The world believes that riches obey labor, yet labor is only the visible shadow of unseen command. Money, opportunity, and cooperation all move toward one invisible signal, the silent tone of belief broadcast from within a man's heart. I call this the wealth signal. It is not spoken with lips nor written with ink, yet it is heard by every circumstance of life. The mind sends it daily, and the world answers it with precision. When the signal is clear, opportunity approaches. When it is distorted by fear, apology, or doubt, fortune turns away, though the effort may appear sincere. Effort without inner certainty becomes noise. The world does not respond to motion for motion's sake. It answers only to purpose fixed and belief sustained. Many men work with great exertion, yet remain poor, because they have not yet learned that labor cannot conceal inner uncertainty. The tone of thought behind effort determines its yield. There is a vast difference between the noise of ambition and the clarity of command. Ambition shouts with tension. Command speaks quietly with conviction. One begs, the other expects. Money retreats from the beggar and approaches the commander because the commander carries faith instead of need. Need repels what it seeks. The subconscious mind is the great transmitter of this signal. It does not speak in words, but in tone. It interprets every thought, emotion, and repetition as instruction. What is sent inward is broadcast outward. When fear dominates thought, that fear becomes message. When gratitude and certainty dominate, that too becomes message, and wealth answers. Money obeys the law of vibration. All thought is vibration. Faith produces one frequency, fear another. To the ear they are silent, but to law they are thunder. Life arranges itself around the prevailing vibration. This is why identical effort produces different results in different men. The difference lies not in work, but in wavelength. Apology disguised as humility weakens the financial magnet. The man who half believes he deserves prosperity speaks softly when he should command. He lowers his tone in the presence of success, afraid of appearing proud. But law interprets humility of this sort as confession of unworthiness. You cannot attract what you secretly fear to claim. Observe Andrew Carnegie in his youth. Before he possessed a fortune, he walked as though entrusted with one. His bearing carried expectancy, not arrogance. Others mistook it for pride, but it was simply certainty, broadcast ahead of evidence. The world received his tone and conspired to prove him right. Expectation preceded empire. Thomas Edison, after failure upon failure, remained composed. His mind vibrated with completion long before light burned within his laboratory. The frequency of belief sustained itself through fatigue and ridicule. Where another man's signal would have broken into doubt, his remained steady until matter itself adjusted to match his certainty. F.W. Woolworth, with no credit and little capital, borrowed belief instead of money. He believed so firmly in his idea that others lent him trust before lending him cash. Trust is currency. His conviction became collateral. The signal of confidence drew cooperation until material wealth followed spiritual wealth. The man who begins correcting his signal is immediately noticed. He speaks slower and with calm conviction. He moves deliberately instead of hurriedly. He no longer explains ambition. He assumes accomplishment. Those still ruled by uncertainty find his composure unsettling. They sense authority without aggression, and that silent authority begins to attract both respect and reward. Gratitude strengthens the signal because gratitude is the tone of possession. To be grateful is to affirm receipt before visible evidence. The man who thanks life for prosperity before it arrives places himself upon the same frequency as its arrival. Ingratitude or constant complaint keeps the signal tuned to lack. The secret of assumed arrival is not pretense. It is moral alignment with what is already promised by law. Every cause produces its effect in time. To act as though the effect were already secured is not arrogance, it is intelligence. It is the refusal to send contradiction between desire and expectation. Faith, as I now describe it, is not emotion. It is inner frequency, an unbroken tone of expectation maintained beneath all appearance. Desire is magnetic expectation. Persistence is steady broadcast. To remain fixed upon one tone until reality echoes it back is the art of mastery. Money recognizes order. Poverty recognizes confusion. Wealth flows to the man who is internally arranged, for he emits certainty that the world can trust. Confusion within repels all cooperation, human and invisible alike. The moral meaning of wealth, therefore, is evidence of inner harmony. To desire riches while doubting the justice of wealth is to divide the signal. The subconscious receives both commands and produces contradiction. Earnings gained and lost, success built and broken. Law cannot be fooled. It multiplies whatever instruction dominates, even if that instruction is indecision. Effort guided by confidence feels light. Effort poisoned by doubt feels heavy. The weight is not in the task, but in the tone. The worker whose inner world is tuned to lack will tire even in easy labor. The man aligned with faith will perform mighty works without strain. Every fortune begins first as a vibration of belief sustained beyond resistance. It is not genius that builds empires. It is unwavering tone. Even the simplest plan, held with conviction, bends time and circumstance in its favor. I no longer chase wealth, I align with it. My thoughts broadcast command, not need. What I expect consistently, I inevitably receive. The man who embodies these affirmations ceases to chase opportunity. Opportunity begins to chase him. He becomes a signal strong enough to rearrange his environment. Deals, ideas, and helpers appear as though called by name. In truth, they are responding to frequency, not chance. Gratitude is not polite emotion, it is magnetic command. To be grateful is to say, this is already mine by law. It eliminates tension and broadcasts confidence. Ingratitude declares separation. Gratitude declares unity. The grateful man multiplies because his tone says, I already possess. Observe closely those who seem lucky. Their minds, whether they know it or not, dwell continually on gain, not loss. Their conversation is shaped by expectancy. Even when difficulty arises, they do not collapse into complaint. Their frequency remains consistent, and life, obedient as ever, mirrors it back. Fear of poverty is the static that breaks the broadcast. Each fearful thought sends interference through the channel. Repeated long enough, that interference becomes the dominant tone. The man then works harder and wonders why results diminish. He blames labor when the fault lies in vibration. There is no mystery in success, only mastery of signal. The wealthy are not chosen, they are tuned. To correct tone is to begin moral reformation. Every careless word of doubt must be replaced with command. Every apology for ambition must be withdrawn. Every fearful image must be substituted with vision of certainty. As the signal clears, life answers. Money begins to approach, not as miracle but as consequence. The same law that carries sound through the air carries belief through mind into matter. Alignment of thought, feeling, and action is tuning of mind to opportunity. The mind must vibrate at the level of its goal, not its fear. When faith, speech, and behavior carry the same rhythm, wealth has no choice but to respond. This is the unseen frequency of riches, the order behind every visible success, the tone that wealth hears even when words are silent. And when a man learns to broadcast it daily with discipline, the world itself bends to listen. The repellent force, how men unknowingly reverse the current. If wealth moves toward the clear signal of faith, it moves away from the confused signal of fear. The same law that attracts can also repel. The power of attraction and repulsion belongs to the same current. When a man sends contradiction, the law obeys confusion as faithfully as it would obey order. Most men destroy their prosperity not by lack of action, but by interference. They send a command for gain and immediately cancel it with thought of loss. They act boldly one day, then shrink in doubt the next. The law, receiving two opposite instructions, pauses. What appears to them as delay is only obedience to mixed vibration. This counter-signal is not always loud. It hides in quiet habits, worry disguised as caution, guilt disguised as modesty, hesitation disguised as reason. These unseen tones reverse the current that should be carrying wealth toward them. A man who doubts his own worth cannot hold riches, for he has commanded them to leave. Thinking about debt strengthens it. Thinking about deficit multiplies it. The mind magnifies what it observes most intently. When attention clings to shortage, the subconscious accepts shortage as instruction. The very energy that could build abundance is then used to feed the image of lack. Thus, effort creates the opposite of intention. I have known men of great ability who feared criticism more than failure. To please the opinion of others, they shrank their dreams to safer size. They reduced their plan to fit the comfort of the timid. Yet the law cannot reward timidity. The world pays for boldness, not apology. Caution, when excessive, becomes self-betrayal. Apology for ambition breaks the signal of authority. The man who lowers his desire to appear humble declares unworthiness to the law. He cannot lead men while ashamed of his goal. He cannot attract wealth while whispering apology for wanting it. Power retreats from those who ask permission to possess it. Comparison is poison to faith. To measure another man's success against your own is to confess doubt in your individual plan. Envy declares that good is limited, that another's gain has stolen yours. Gratitude declares that good is infinite and opportunity unexhausted. The one repels, the other attracts. Self-contradiction is the unseen cost of weakness. A man says, "I will succeed," then in private imagines failure. He speaks of confidence and prepares excuses. He prays for increase and dwells on fear. His outer words and inner feeling move against each other. Such divided loyalty produces only delay and disappointment. The imagination was not given for rehearsal of loss. To visualize disaster is to create a blueprint for it. The subconscious, indifferent to intention, builds whatever image it receives most vividly. Every picture of defeat repeated in the theater of the mind becomes instruction. This is how fear of poverty creates poverty. Even prayer, when mixed with desperation, becomes command for lack. When a man pleads with heaven as though heaven were withholding, he declares himself empty. The tone of plea contradicts the tone of faith. The answer cannot come, for the signal is divided between belief and doubt. I have known a merchant of fine skill who prospered, only to lose his gains repeatedly. Each time profit appeared, he began fearing loss. His mind rehearsed decline while his store flourished. Customers, sensing the vibration of fear, withdrew their confidence. Within months, he fulfilled the prophecy he had written through worry. Contrast this with Henry Ford. When his engineers declared the V8 engine impossible, he refused to consider limitation. His tone of certainty was so commanding that their doubt could not penetrate it. He broadcast one signal only: completion. The machine eventually obeyed that unwavering command. I recall a salesman whose income doubled after one quiet correction. He removed apology from his voice. Before, his tone carried uncertainty, a faint tremor that betrayed his belief in scarcity. When he began to speak as one who granted value rather than begged attention, the world adjusted to his new frequency. When the counter signal is removed, life feels lighter. The man works no less, yet his labor produces more. He no longer drains energy through self-explanation. His speech loses the trembling edge of insecurity. He acts with calm authority because he has ceased arguing with his own worth. I erase apology from my tone, and I speak only from certainty. I expect increase as naturally as breath. Fear cannot command me because I obey law, not emotion. Every repetition of fear is a withdrawal from prosperity. Fear is reverse magnetism. It pushes away what faith would draw near. The man who fears poverty creates poverty as surely as the man of faith creates wealth. Law makes no moral distinction. It serves whichever tone is sustained longest. Doubt is static. It fills the channel through which supply must travel. When the line is filled with noise, the message of abundance cannot pass. Confidence clears the channel. Gratitude maintains it. The steady mind becomes conductor of riches. Some say they are being realistic when they dwell on loss. Realism is merely faith in limitation. The wise are not blind to danger, but they do not meditate upon it. They recognize risk, prepare calmly, and return their minds to vision. To remain fixed upon danger is to invite it home. Men repel wealth by entertaining guilt about money itself. They have been taught that virtue lies in struggle and that ease is immoral. Such belief is false humility. Struggle is not holiness. It is misdirection of energy. Ease is the natural state of alignment. The world yields to order, not apology. To desire more is not greed, it is growth. Life itself expands through desire. The seed desires to become the tree. The mind desires to express its potential in visible form. To suppress this natural urge is to oppose the Creator's plan of increase. The most common countersignal is impatience. Impatience declares, "I do not trust law to deliver." It reveals disbelief in cause and effect. The man who plants today and demands harvest tomorrow uproots his seed. The soil must work unseen before the sprout appears. The mind must hold faith until results mature. Another hidden repellent is self-pity. To rehearse hardship is to request its extension. The man who repeats tales of unfairness teaches his mind to expect obstruction. He gains sympathy and loses power. The law hears complaint as consent. The remedy for all reversal is simple but demanding. Replace defense with decision. The fearful man defends his hesitation with excuses. The decided man replaces explanation with movement. He wastes no energy proving he deserves success. He demonstrates it through steady action rooted in inner calm. Fear, when understood, becomes energy reclaimed. Every anxious thought is a misplaced fragment of faith. To redirect it towards certainty is to multiply strength. The man who converts worry into decision transforms defeat into drive. Watch the man who masters fear. His posture changes. He moves as though heavier, grounded in purpose. His eyes no longer dart in doubt. His speech grows quiet. His sentences final. The world feels the shift and begins to trust his direction. Fear cannot command the obedient mind. When a man aligns with law, emotion becomes servant, not master. He may feel the presence of fear, but he does not follow it. His loyalty remains with decision. Law rewards such fidelity with stability. Every great fortune has passed through the fire of fear and emerged refined. The difference between those who continue and those who quit lies only in allegiance. The one obeys fear, the other obeys faith. When a man begins to remove the static of worry, he notices immediate change. Sleep deepens, thought clarifies, opportunity reappears. The same world he once called cruel begins to cooperate. Nothing external changed, only the signal within. He looks lighter, though he works no less. His days grow more orderly, his nights more peaceful. People feel at ease around him because his calm steadies theirs. His reliability becomes magnet. This is the mark of one who has reversed the current from confusion to clarity. The law of wealth is impartial. It rewards harmony, punishes contradiction. To confess fear and then labor for prosperity is like rowing north while steering south. Unity of tone precedes movement of riches. Men who understand this cease wasting speech on complaint. They speak only to direct thought. They cease watching rivals and begin refining themselves. They no longer beg for better times. They become better signals. The power that builds worlds has no respect for apology. It respects order, confidence, and gratitude. When these qualities dominate, wealth approaches as surely as the sunrise. The correction of tone is the first act of mastery. The silence of fear replaced by the stillness of command. That is the true beginning of prosperity. And when that silence becomes constant, when decision speaks louder than doubt, the current of wealth turns and begins its rightful approach. The correction of signal. Wealth obeys clarity. Once a man becomes aware that he has been sending a broken signal, his first duty is correction. Awareness alone changes nothing. It is only the beginning of responsibility. Law does not reward knowledge. It rewards alignment. The mind must be tuned daily until it hums in harmony with certainty. To correct the wealth signal is to take command of inner language. Every thought, every phrase, every image repeated in the mind is a note in the grand symphony that becomes destiny. To think is to instruct. To speak is to engrave. To act is to broadcast. The subconscious listens always. It never sleeps. It waits for clarity of tone, then multiplies it faithfully. Every repeated thought becomes instruction. The law cannot distinguish between wish and command. It obeys whichever is spoken most often. The man who dwells on difficulty will have more difficulty. The man who dwells on direction will have more direction. Repetition builds rhythm, and rhythm shapes reality. A command spoken quietly with conviction is stronger than loud assertion shouted through doubt. Law does not measure volume. It measures vibration. Whispered certainty outweighs desperate declaration. The man who knows need not convince. His tone carries evidence. The world believes him because he already believes himself. Each morning I have instructed men to write their definite aim by hand and read it aloud with emotion and belief. It is not superstition, it is alignment. To write is to carve command upon the tablet of the subconscious. To read it aloud is to let the vibration of faith enter the air. To do both daily is to train the inner and outer world to obey. Faith does not grow through emotion, it grows through repetition. Emotion changes with weather. Repetition hardens into habit, and habit becomes law within the self. The steady man is not the one who feels most. He is the one who returns most often to his chosen direction. The wise understand the science of emotional neutrality. They act with calm conviction, even in uncertainty. Their faith is not noisy, it is composed. To maintain peace when the world shakes is proof of mastery. The calm mind speaks in a frequency the universe recognizes as authority. Gratitude amplifies the signal. To thank the unseen for results not yet visible is to claim them as certain. Gratitude is the vibration of possession. It declares, I already have. Complaint declares, I lack. Law obeys the one sustained longest. Routine creates rhythm. Rhythm creates trust between mind and law. When a man performs the same act at the same hour for the same reason, he sends a message of order to infinite intelligence. The universe, which thrives on order, begins to cooperate with him. Repetition is not monotony, it is conversation with eternity. I once counseled a poor clerk who had labored faithfully without advancement. His mind was filled with worry, and his speech betrayed defeat. I instructed him to write his aim each morning. I am partner in this firm. At first he whispered the words timidly. Within months his tone changed. He no longer hoped, he expected. Within a year the firm confirmed what his subconscious had already decided. Charles M. Schwab practiced this art long before others understood it. Before every meeting he repeated the picture of success in his mind until it felt completed. His expectancy filled rooms. Men around him caught his assurance as though it were scent in the air. Faith that's steady becomes contagious. It converts hesitation into action. The Wright brothers, mocked and ignored, held certainty without need for recognition. Their belief in flight never broke rhythm. They spoke little, worked much, and remained loyal to the image of completion. Their calm was command. The air itself, at last, obeyed their vibration. The man who corrects his signal begins to notice his voice change. It steadies. Words slow. Doubt retreats from his presence. Even his breathing deepens. He moves as if guided by invisible assurance. People begin to trust his judgment instinctively, though they cannot explain why. I have said before, wealth answers rhythm, not rush. The frantic man broadcasts need. The steady man broadcasts possession. Rush signals fear that time will run out. Rhythm declares that time is already working for him. To correct the signal, the first step is purification of speech. Each word must serve belief, not doubt. Speech is sound, and sound is vibration. Idle words of complaint contaminate the tone of command. He who guards his tongue strengthens his signal. Next is purification of attention. Attention is currency. Wherever it rests, energy flows. The man who spends his attention on failure buys more failure. The man who invests it in vision multiplies vision. The law enlarges whatever is observed with intensity. The third step is the discipline of gratitude. Gratitude maintains frequency. It prevents corrosion of faith. The grateful man cannot emit fear, for gratitude and fear are opposite vibrations. My thoughts command wealth through repetition. I am steady in faith and silent in power. My calm is proof of my certainty. Wealth answers rhythm, not rush. These sentences are not encouragement. They are instruction. Repeat them until they repeat themselves within you. When words become automatic, they cease to be conscious effort and become subconscious law. Emotional neutrality must not be mistaken for coldness. It is warmth without restlessness. It is joy without noise. The man who masters calm becomes magnet for all who seek direction. His peace acts as anchor. His composure carries hidden authority that unsettles the chaotic and comforts the wise. Faith grows not by shouting louder, but by returning daily. Each repetition engraves deeper. The mountain is moved not by one strike, but by thousands in the same place. So it is with thought. Gratitude must become natural breath. Each time the mind whispers complaint, replace it with thanks. Each time fear imagines loss, replace it with vision of increase. Over days, the signal stabilizes, and the subconscious begins to trust the new pattern. The silent instrument, the subconscious, responds to consistency, not emotion. It measures sincerity by rhythm. Speak to it calmly and often, and it obeys. Ignore it or contradict it, and it drifts into chaos. Decision is the inner decree that begins all order. Once declared, it must not be reopened. To reopen decision is to confuse the instrument. Decide once, repeat often, and act always in the same direction. That is how correction becomes power. Routine may appear small, but it is the foundation of mastery. The sunrise repeats, yet it never fails. The man who repeats his purpose with equal faith will see his horizon change as surely as dawn follows night. As the corrected signal strengthens, life grows symmetrical. Coincidences begin to align. Delay softens into timing. Where once there was resistance, there is now rhythm. The man feels the world moving with him instead of against him. Others will say he is fortunate, but they will not understand that fortune is faith maintained. What they call luck is merely signal perfected. The corrected signal carries weight in unseen realms. It summons ideas from infinite intelligence and sends them through intuition. It attracts cooperation from minds vibrating on similar tones. It awakens recognition in those prepared to assist. When the mind is tuned to the note of decision, doubt can no longer enter. Doubt belongs to another frequency. It bounces off like sound against a wall of glass. Those around the corrected man find peace in his company. They feel direction simply by observing him. His certainty gives them certainty. His order becomes their map. That is leadership, the transference of inner rhythm to others. This is why the correction of signal is both science and service. It enriches not only the one who broadcasts, but all who tune into his frequency. He radiates order because he has earned it through repetition. He commands because he has obeyed. He draws wealth because he has given clarity. And when the tone is pure, results cease to delay. What once resisted begins to yield. What once seemed distant begins to approach. Wealth, opportunity, and confidence return home to their rightful source, the man whose signal is now clear. The magnetized life, when money seeks the man. There comes a moment when correction becomes completion, when the signal, once weak and divided, hums so perfectly that life itself begins to reorganize around it. The man who once chased now attracts. What once resisted begins to obey. This is the magnetized life, the state of harmony between mind, law, and result. The magnetized man no longer questions whether wealth will arrive. He knows it must, as certainly as dawn follows darkness. He understands that wealth is not pursuit, but response. It seeks order, and order lives within him. The tone of his thought commands, "Come," and all that belongs to him begins to move silently in his direction. When alignment becomes complete, opportunity ceases to hide. Doors that once seemed locked open without force. Where others meet obstruction, he meets cooperation. What changed was not the world, but his frequency. The same tide that once pushed against him now carries him forward. Why does the world trust such a man? Because he trusts himself. Confidence radiates from him without speech. His calm replaces argument. Others feel that his decision is final and instinctively align with it. He does not convince. He attracts. His certainty makes others believe in their own. Calm confidence builds credit faster than argument ever could. Banks, investors, and employers sense vibration before calculation. They feel reliability before seeing proof. The steady tone of assurance is capital invisible yet more powerful than gold. It has weight, and all business responds to weight. Wealth is not pursuit but recognition. It moves toward discipline as surely as metal to magnet. Disorder repels, order attracts. When a man organizes his thought and conduct, he becomes a living invitation to prosperity. Fortune flows along the path of least resistance, and order is that path. There is a vast difference between appearing rich and carrying the signal of wealth. Many dress the part, speak the language, and mimic success, yet carry the tone of fear beneath the surface. They spend to hide doubt, not to express mastery. Wealth avoids them because their signal is false. Law cannot be deceived by decoration. The man who truly carries the signal of wealth may appear simple. His possessions serve him. They do not define him. He moves without hurry because certainty moves slowly. He buys with peace, gives with gratitude, and receives without guilt. He lives not in display but in direction. Authority replaces pleading. He no longer asks the world for permission to prosper. He declares through example that prosperity is natural. His success feels inevitable, not lucky. Those who watch him see continuity rather than burst. There is no miracle in his progress, only law obeyed without interruption. This is the moral duty of prosperity, to use wealth as instrument of peace, not vanity. Riches gained through alignment carry responsibility. The magnetized man multiplies others by his presence. His prosperity uplifts rather than provokes. He proves that wealth, rightly held, is evidence of order, not greed. Rockefeller understood this law. In moments of financial panic, while others despaired, he remained composed. His tone never broke, for he trusted order more than market. That calmness drew strength to him. The chaos of others became opportunity for him because he did not share their frequency of fear. Lincoln, too, lived by this magnetism. When the nation tore itself apart, his tone of unity never wavered. He spoke not from hope, but from law. He declared oneness until reality reshaped itself to match his declaration. Division could not outlast harmony held in mind by one decided man. I once met a tradesman who began with nothing but conviction. He repeated daily, "My service is needed, my work is valuable, my reward is certain." At first he sold little, but as his certainty deepened, others began to see what he already knew. His customers increased, his influence spread, and soon men sought his counsel as they once doubted his worth. Such transformation appears mysterious to those who still labor under chance. They say, "He is lucky." But luck is only law in motion, unseen by those who refuse to align. The magnetized man's silence carries weight. He is not hurried because he knows that time obeys him. Delay no longer disturbs him because he recognizes preparation within it. His peace unsettles the frantic, for they sense that he is moved by a rhythm they have not yet heard. His presence feels like direction. People enter his orbit and find purpose. His certainty clarifies their confusion. In his company, problems seem smaller and possibilities larger. His composure becomes instruction. His name becomes synonymous with reliability. When others speak of him, they speak of stability. His word becomes bond because it carries the tone of integrity. Promises made in harmony with law are kept by law itself. His success no longer excites envy. It provokes admiration. Men feel safer in a world where such success exists, for it proves that law remains just. Those who once mocked his discipline now seek his counsel. His life becomes living evidence that wealth follows obedience, not chance. I am a signal of abundance. I command through calm certainty. Wealth recognizes me because I recognize law. My peace is proof of my power. What I hold inwardly becomes visible outwardly. Faith in its purest form is magnetism of conviction. It draws without effort because it does not doubt. Persistence is obedience maintained beyond fatigue or discouragement. It is the refusal to lower vibration when results delay. The definite chief aim is the central tone from which all other notes derive harmony. Infinite intelligence is the great receiver, responding precisely to every broadcast of mind. It does not interpret emotion, it mirrors repetition. Speak chaos, receive chaos. Speak order, receive order. Speak gratitude, receive increase. The law is absolute and without prejudice. The magnetized man maintains his signal through simplicity. He guards his mind against gossip, envy, and unnecessary conflict. He avoids argument, for argument lowers tone. He keeps company with those who respect discipline. Each association must reinforce his frequency or be released. Gratitude sustains the magnet. Without gratitude, power corrodes into pride. Simplicity purifies it. Service directs it. He uses wealth as extension of principle, not as ornament of ego. He gives to strengthen circulation, not to buy praise. I have watched men gain fortune and lose peace because they forgot the source of their magnetism. They mistook money for the law that produced it. When gratitude vanished, the signal distorted. What once attracted began to repel. To maintain wealth is to maintain vibration. Money is obedient but indifferent. It moves where invited, leaves where neglected. To retain it, one must remain in harmony with its order. Discipline, clarity, gratitude. These are the true safeguards of fortune. The corrected signal must be maintained through daily renewal. Faith must be fed by silence, not noise. The man must withdraw from distraction, returning each day to his inner decree. He must remind himself, I am master of cause, not servant of effect. When a man reaches this understanding, his relationship with life changes entirely. He no longer works for results. He works from result. His mind lives at the end of his purpose. His actions simply catch up to his conviction. He wakes each morning already in possession of the outcome. His tone is not, I hope, but I know. The world, hearing that vibration, rushes to fulfill it. The magnetized life is the state of peace within power. There is no struggle left, only expansion. The same energy once wasted in doubt now builds structure. The same emotion once spent on fear now fuels creativity. He does not demand, he directs. He does not chase, he calls. He does not persuade, he proves. The law moves through him as current through wire, steady, silent, unstoppable. His wealth no longer measures worth, it reflects order. It is not the goal, but the shadow of obedience. The man who understands this law no longer fears the future, for the future is already shaped by the frequency he holds now. He knows that every cause returns to its source, and that his tone today is the prophecy of his tomorrow. Money has always obeyed tone. The tragedy is that men have not known which tone they were sending. Once the signal is purified, wealth must appear. To doubt this is to doubt gravity. And so I say, do not chase what already belongs to you by law. Align with it. Speak as one who already owns. Work as one who cannot fail. Give as one who will never lack. The magnetized man is proof that obedience is wealth, that peace is power, and that faith, when practiced as law, creates certainty where others see only chance. He stands as living demonstration that fortune is not favor, it is response. And when you become that man, money will no longer be your pursuit, it will be your reflection.